Hello. Well, the National Pensioners Convention is the UK's biggest campaign group run for and by older people, and it's on a mission. Welcome to Grey Matters. Hello and welcome to Grey Matters, the channel that promotes the fact that the older generation still matters and still has relevance, although you'd hardly believe it sometimes, and which looks at issues that matter to the older generation. Now, on the 9th of July, the National Pensioners Convention joined more than 5,000 people from right across the UK who signed up to meet their MPs for the Climate Changes or the Climate Coalition's historic Act Now, Change Forever event in Westminster. Now, the NPC and their Climate Change Working Party aim to continue working alongside the Climate Coalition on the campaign in the future. Now, I don't know what your views are about climate change. I mean, there are many who believe it's cyclical and global warming and cooling have been natural phenomena for millennia, many millennia, and will continue to occur whatever we do to try and mitigate it. Others quite rightly point out that the UK only produces 2% or less of the world's carbon emissions, and their view is that the rest of the world should reduce their emissions first, so that globally we're all on a level playing field going forward. And then there are those who are aggressively pushing for climate action. Now, some would describe it as passionately, but when you see the actions of some of these climate change groups, aggressive really is the only word to use. Now, research by the Climate Coalition of organisations and charities concerned about the environment has found that climate change is no longer a niche issue. Apparently, it's a major concern for people of all ages and backgrounds. Now, the Act Now, Change Forever lobby gave ordinary people the chance to press their own MPs for more government action to conserve the environment. Now, it doesn't matter whether or not you're a climate change denier or not. Conserving the environment, I would suggest, is something that everybody can get behind. And I'll leave a link to the project in the description so you can get involved if you want to. Now, the Climate Coalition is asking MPs to back what they term as bold, practical action by committing to vital funding for communities hit hardest by climate change. That's the first thing. And to be honest, apart from farming and fishing and maybe, I don't know, people living in Alaska in the Arctic Circle, I have no idea what sort of communities are affected by climate change. So perhaps someone out there could enlighten me, because I don't know. I can't think of anyone. They're also seeking a commitment to cut bills and back UK jobs. That's fair enough. Not sure how that relates to climate change, but it's certainly something we should all be supporting. And they want to secure a greener, fairer future for everybody. And they want a commitment to restoring nature to create a safer, healthier future. Yeah, well, try telling that to the planning authorities, who seem to be on a mission themselves to pave over as much of the green belt as possible, instead of developing brownfield site first. Now, one new estate here where I live saw the developers cut down several ancient and protected oak trees. It was apparently cheaper to pay the quite heavy fines than spend money on incorporating those trees into the escaped landscape. And then they had the brass neck to name the estate Oakwood Park. To say the furore was massive locally is an understatement. And then there's an area in the centre of the town that's known locally as the town's Green Lung. It's an area of woodland with springs and streams and a huge natural biodiversity. And it's close to the high street, although it's not officially accessible to the public. Now, plans were put forward to transform it into a heritage park with a children's play haven, family areas and nature trails, whilst keeping much of the area natural and safe for wildlife. Well, district planners, however, had other ideas, and they've granted permission for flats to be built there in an overt act of planning vandalism, as far as I'm concerned. They've ignored hundreds of objections from the public and pressure from local lobby groups. And the footage you just saw was from one of those groups. Now, requesting MPs to support the restoration of nature to create a safer, healthier future is, in my opinion, vital. For example, almost half of all UK bird species are in decline. They are actually in freefall, with woodland bird species being the most affected, and even the humble tree sparrow is less than a tenth of their numbers compared to 50 years ago. Farmland birds have shown the biggest decline overall, with 63% of species showing a decrease. And no doubt that was due to pesticide use and hedgerows being removed, although farmers are now making fantastic strides to try and rectify that. Now, of course, we've got hard-pressed farmers who are selling off their land for housing and solar farms, all of which horrendously contribute to carbon emissions. Solar panels are transported hundreds of miles, they're wrapped in non-recyclable plastic, and of course the panels themselves will end up one day in landfill. Trying to get MPs on side to stop all that is probably the hardest part of all. And then there's the wind farms. They're everywhere, but they need assistance from diesel engines, and the blades are totally non-recyclable at the moment, and they end up not in landfill, but dumped in huge wind turbine graveyards, where they will rest in peace for hundreds of years, if not for eternity. Take a look at this from Newsmax Australia.
Because I've been told that there are old turbine blades that have been just dumped here. Here they are. This is renewable energy, by the way. Remember that word renewable? There's nothing much renewable about these things. These are old turbine blades, quite short ones actually. I mean, they look big, but they're some of the early 20 metres, I think. And now they've worn out. You can see, you look at the quality of it, it's not much life left in that. Can you recycle it? Good luck.
Yeah, there are huge sites like that throughout the US as well. And I'm sure you remember the ridiculous situation with the wood-burning power station in the north being lauded as making great use of natural material, which unfortunately has to be imported from the US and Canada on huge gas-guzzling ships. Couldn't make it up, could you? But then all the action in the world can't mitigate for things like this. Take a look. That footage shows a battery recycling plant in Ayrshire going up in flames about 3 months ago. I can't find the details of the camera who caught that footage, so I can't credit him or her, but it was put online by the World News Channel and the Scottish Sun and many others. We know how committed the government is to getting everyone into electric vehicles as soon as possible to reduce the emissions and save the planet. So this is probably the perfect definition of irony. Tons of toxic smoke engulfing local houses and sending up a pall of smoke hundreds of feet high, and it's the second fire they've had there. It's been hypothesised that the toxic cloud had the equivalent of 1,000 HGVs with badly tuned diesel engines driving non-stop for 10 years. Good on them. Now, I don't know how amenable your MP is to this, but ours, who is quite high up in the Tory party, is too busy climbing the greasy pole to help with anything locally, really. He's invisible unless there's a photo opportunity or it's near election time. So, whilst I wish the Act Now Change Forever lobby fantastic success, I think they've got a hard fight on their hands. I suspect with this government, the only steps that will be taken will be to push through Mad Miliband's farcical net zero project. Now, as I mentioned earlier, if you want more information of the Act Now Change Forever project, I'll leave a link in the description so you can get involved if you wish. And I'm sure there's some of you out there that would like to do that and would get a lot out of it and maybe put a lot into it as well. So what's your view on climate change? Should we be worried, or is it all hype and conspiracy? Can the UK make a meaningful difference to global warming when it's producing so little of the carbon that's causing it? Let us know your thoughts. And if you like this video, please like and share. And of course, don't forget to subscribe. And in the meantime, thanks for joining us. And until the next time on Grey Matters, it's bye for now.